I made that video the other day about these giant birch trees, and when it comes to all these small trees, they can't have no sunlight. They can't grow. And it seemed like quite a few people enjoyed that. I went back and looked just to make sure, and we had, I think there's 600 thumbs up in that video. That's pretty decent. But that's kind of how these trees work. When you have a tree like this that grows up and goes way out like that, that's why you get these small trees all around it, but they can't really grow anywhere. And all has to do with sunlight. All those trees are trying to get to sunlight. That's the biggest thing why all these trees are nice straight poles all together right here. They're all growing up together, all getting that nice sunlight. It's a nice little patch of maple there. And over here you have one gnarly huge tree and a bunch of small ones around it, because them small ones can't get no sunlight because the canopy out there is overgrown so much because it had room to. So if you were actually to take that down, all these trees would flourish and you'd get a bunch more trees that grew off the stump. It'd make a big difference. So that's kind of how this works. And I'll see if we can go back here. I've never even been back here. We're not cutting this piece here, we're cutting the piece over here and just slipping it through here to there. But I'll take you out front and show you what a tree looks like that has a big canopy. And what I'm talking about is all these trees here are nice straight trees, no limbs, because there's no limbs that can get to any sunlight. So they grow straight up, nice timber. But if that same tree was to grow with nothing around it, it's totally different. And the same thing with these oaks that got left. Nice straight poles in them, little tops, little canopy. There's a double there. But they're just nice trees. This place looks nice back here. There's a tree Paul set aside, so when we have time to cut logs, we can just cut logs. So look at the hills back in here. We don't get in a lot of hilly ground usually. We're not like Alex out west out there or something. It's usually pretty flat where we're working, but there's some good hills back here, it looks like. Like I said, I've never walked back here, but yep, the buncher got up there and got them all. The old Cat 573C got up there and got it done. I think can get on some ground. So yeah, it looks good back here. Couple bundles kicking around, but a little beach there. But yeah, look where that Adam got it done on the side of that hill. Let's go walk back there. I don't know if the camera will do it justice or not, but he did some crawling around on the side of these hills, and looks good. There's a big rock sticking out over there. That's what you don't want to get your head into, is a rock. But yeah, oh yeah, it looks good back here. Looks really good. Couple singles kicking around yet they haven't picked up. When you see a log like that one, Paul actually sorted that one out of a bundle because we needed chipwood, and that was in a chipwood bundle, that big maple, and left it. And then he'll come back again later when the slasher's rocking and rolling and grab that. And there's another one way over there. That's a dead pine there, but yeah, it looks good. And that's not easy to climb up with the buncher either. There's some big popple on there too. See those stumps? Them are 2 foot easy. And he got them down. But as you can tell, all these trees, when they grow up together, there's just a little canopy up top. And you have these nice straight poles. And all those single maples in there will all become some nice logs someday. But when they grow out in the middle of a field, they don't grow like that. I'm sure everybody's seen the white pine that's all standing out here. I get that question a lot on why don't we cut the pine? So you don't have nowhere to take it. Our chips are our bread and butter, and the mill that we haul to doesn't take pine at all. Really messes up the cardboard. So actually, if one gets cut accidentally or it gets drug up, I don't put any pine in any of our chip vans. So I don't want the mill unhappy. But that's why we don't mess with it. It's just too difficult. Whole tree chips, fuel chips. A lot of people ask why we don't haul to burn plants, energy wood, stuff like that, simply because we can't get in there. The markets here are so full. We tried to haul some in last summer and we couldn't even do that. We had a little bit of pine on the job, couldn't get rid of it. Those tops are still bundled up there. 8 months probably, a long time ago, and maybe more than that, I don't even know. That's how we don't do the pine. And the burn plant wood, they're full, and so their own producers haul in there. They get first dibs. So if they were out and the prices were way up there, it'd be a different story, but they're not, and the prices aren't there. So yeah, see that cherry tree, how it's no trees around it, and it just grows out because everything's trying to get to sunlight. So it's nothing like the trees that are back there that are nice straight poles, because that has the opportunity to get more sunlight if it grows more limbs out. So therefore it'll grow out just like that white pine. If that white pine was back in the woods back there, you'd have a nice tall tree, but instead it's able to grow out, and that's why you get those big limbs coming right off from the bottom, because they can get to sunlight. Look at that gnarly thing. That's what it looks like instead of a nice straight pole, because those limbs can get to sunlight, whereas the limbs that are back in the woods have to, that tops are growing out so it can get to more sunlight. But here's a sweetheart tree. There's a big oak over here. Look at the size of that thing. She's a gnarly old beast. That's a big old monster. But you can see how we cut a little bit of popple that was right here. You can see how there's nothing at all growing underneath that whole tree, because in the summer I'm sure she's bloomed out pretty nice in leaves. So she's a big monster. It's a big one. I don't know. Bunch of firewood's about that. All that's good for. I'm sure I'd have a lot of people mad if we cut that into firewood. We're not cutting it, but that thing's probably, it's at least 7 foot. Oh, it's probably 6 foot, maybe a little more than 6 foot across. That's how big that tree is. But yep, she's a big old girl. But that's what happens when, if that same tree was to grow back there in the woods, you'd have a nice giant tall oak. But just how it works, wherever they can get the sunlight, that's where it's going to go.